Hello, and welcome to Motorcycle News, and welcome to something rather special. Now you see, as sports bikes have got way too fast for the road, they've climbed over 200 brake horsepower in a power arms race, more and more people have turned to super nakeds because they're still bloody fast, they don't break your wrists when you sit on them, the pegs are a bit lower, and you can still do track days and go on a tour. Now KTM are acutely aware of this and have been bringing us a 1290 Super Duke R for almost a decade now. I want to say 2014 was when we first saw it. And for 2024, it's grown. Let me introduce you to the 1390 Super Duke R. So unlike the rest of the super naked rivals that KTM have to face, who go for V4s, inline 4s, we've got a couple of triples in there, KTM have continued to champion the V-twin, one of the last big capacity V-twins on the market. And up until now, you know, that's won favour with fans across the world for having an absolute savage amount of torque at the bottom end of the revs. You can really, you know, punch out of corners from the bottom on this. And as I say, it's grown again for 2024. So what we're going to do now is take a little bit of a deep dive into it. I don't have all the facts and figures yet because, believe it or not, we recorded this back in July. So, you know, you may be watching it freezing cold at home in November, but outside it's about 30 degrees at the moment, so go figure. Yes, what I can tell you off the top of my head is power is around about 190 horsepower now, so just about enough, and 145 newton meters of torque as well. So it's not one of the over 200 brake horsepowers like, you know, the Ducati Street Fighter and stuff like that, but where this will win, or where this will, you know, have an edge, whether it will be the best, who knows, but where it will have an edge is the fact that it's got that power low down, rather than having to scream it at the top of the revs, which means you're definitely going to jail. So I'm going to talk to some KTM top brass now to find out a little bit more about the model. Before we jump into the interview, I now have the full spec sheet for the 1390, and on paper, let me tell you, this is one impressive naked. Arriving in January 2024, the 1390 range will consist of a standard R and an Evo model wearing semi-active electronic suspension. Both bikes will use an updated version of KTM's previously 1301cc LC8 V-twin, which now has an increased bore of 110mm to bring the capacity to a meaty 1350cc's. Power is now a claimed 187.4 brake horsepower at 10,000 RPM, with torque sitting at 107 pound-feet at 8,000 RPM. For a broader spread of power, you'll also find a new camshaft system in the cylinder heads, which allows for the activation of two different valve lifts depending on where you are in the rev range. There's also a redesigned airbox, shorter throttle bodies, and a redesigned ram air system for more direct airflow into the engine. Both 5th and 6th gear ratios have also been revised to allow for use over a wider speed range. Being a KTM, you can expect to find a wide range of lean-sensitive electronics and riding modes, with yet more available in the optional extras catalogue. On top of this, the Evo model will get WP's third generation of electronic suspension technology, with an optional Suspension Pro pack unlocking features like an anti-dive setting on the front forks. And if you really want to show off, you can also set the bike to automatically lower the rear preload when coming to a stop. This will help with a better launch off the line. Now, let's hear from the man responsible for such a brutish machine. Okay, so joining me now is the project leader, Florian. So thank you very much for joining me on this, and congratulations on a lovely bike. And before we get into it, how long has this process been going on for? How long has this development been in the works?
So about in that time when the bike will launch, end of November, about roughly 3 years.
Wow, okay, fantastic stuff. And I'm right in thinking that we'll see an Evo one come along as well?
Yes, so both the R and the R Evo are launching at the same time.
Fantastic stuff. And any idea yet when we're going to start to see them in dealers?
It should be by end of the year. I don't know the exact details, but yeah, once we have the launch, the bike should be available at dealers almost at the same time.
Fantastic stuff. So, you know, I don't think it's unfair of me to say that this looks kind of similar to the last one. There is a lot of subtle changes in there. Obviously, you've got the headlight that's quite different as well, but it's got a different number on the side of it now. So, in a presentation earlier, you said about 40% of the bike had changed. So, can you sort of talk me through, you know, if it's easy enough to do, just kind of talk me through what's actually new on the bike?
So yeah, I think the big change obviously is the engine.
Yes.
It's gotten bigger by about 50 cc, so now 1350 cc. The new thing is we have a camshaft technology on the cylinder head, so electronically actuated, it changes the cam profile, which allows us also on one hand to gain more top end, but also more torque.
So is that like a variable valve timing kind of system? Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
And then the biggest changes there, obviously some minor changes in terms of cooling. The gearing box, 5th and 6th gear have been shortened a bit to make them more usable. Also on the street, updated the suspension, both on the R and then also the R Evo with the semi-active technology. There we have a new through rod fork design, more detailed sensor data to really allow the adjustability of the suspension even quicker. Updates on the shock, but also very much on the electronic side, the rider aids, which have been enhanced even more than previously.
Brilliant. So just a few changes then. And obviously there's new tyres as well, isn't there, for this one? So
Yes.
So what have we got on there now?
It's the Michelin Power GP.
Yeah, and it was S22s before, is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So also there, 1.2 kilos reduced unsprung mass.
Wow.
So also a really big benefit of those tires.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I've been saying sort of before now, the orange is obviously to pay tribute to KTM's of the past and things like that. But you know, where do you see this one in the market? So I spoke about the rivals that you guys have to face. Lots and lots of super nakeds on the market these days. So where is this bike going to have the edge over the competition?
I think the Beast, as it stands here, has always been a disruptor in that super naked category, and that's what we really want to keep on. We have the advantage, we're lighter than our competitors, and what we really targeted is, on the one hand, to have something as close as possible to 1-to-1 power to weight ratio, but also on the other hand, really offer that rideability on the streets. Real good pull down low. So overtaking is always easily possible, and you don't need to rev it that high, and that's really the unique, let's say, value that the Super Duke has.
Fantastic stuff. And the chassis in there, obviously, it looks similar from similar sort of trellis to the previous design, but there has been some slight tweaks, hasn't there? So what's changed on the chassis?
The frame has been just revised slightly to accommodate the new engine.
Yeah.
We have some also updates on the airbox throttle body, so the whole configuration just has changed slightly. Fuel tank has grown by 1 liter. It's also increased the range a little bit, so that's just kind of the frame changes were made to really accommodate those.
Fantastic stuff. And I take it you've ridden the bike?
I've ridden this one shortly before, but I still have to take it out a bit more.
Right, I see. What's it like to ride?
It's really cool.
Good wheelies?
You can pull easy wheelies in 3rd and 4th gear, so that is the incredible thing about it. But on the other hand, it also feels super safe. So with the rider aids between the different ride modes, the slip adjuster, which can now also be set to completely off or into 9 levels. The new engine brake control, which makes it more customizable to the rider, having between less or more engine brake. Allows you to customize it really to your riding style, and also allows it to control this package much better.
Fantastic stuff. That's brilliant. And as a final question, you know, it's something we've discussed off camera already. And viewers of this channel will know that I have lived with many 1290 Super Duke derivatives over time. So I had a 1290 Super Duke GT, and then I had a Super Duke R Evo. And again, if you've not seen the videos on our channel, be sure to go back and watch them, and also go to motorcyclenews.com to see the full story about living with those bikes for a year. But unfortunately, you know, we did run into a couple of mechanical problems on that. So, you know, we had issues with TFT dashes and some electrical problems, but also some, you know, oil leaks, coolant leaks, stuff like that. And you know, we've talked about this off camera, but you know, could you just kind of explain the additional steps, you know, that have been taken to try and address those issues for 2024?
So yeah, basically also with the new 1390 engine, we really also focus on serviceability and longevity of the engine, making small changes, increasing tolerances there, but also that helped us really increase the service interval and the longevity of the engine. For example, now we have a valve check only after 60,000 kilometers, which was previously 30,000. So that's really helping that service interval for the customer. But also basically it's all after the first service after 1000 K. And then also made updates on the dashboard to reduce the water ingress. That has been really sometimes in some markets with a lot of rain, as the UK sometimes gets a bit of an issue.
Fantastic. Well, look, thank you very much for talking us around the bike. Can't wait to ride it. And yeah, looking forward to seeing more stuff coming from KTM soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I can tell you the bike looks really, really cool in the flesh, and can't wait to have a go, and also to see, you know, what bike takes the 2024 Super Naked crown. But if you've made it this far, please be sure to give us a like and a subscribe, and I will see you next time. Cheers, guys.